Can you see me shaking? Hear the sound of my...
Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Liz. This is Creating Crime Time. I don't mean to keep looking over here. I don't normally record at my desk, so bear with me. I don't mean to look really strange. But yeah, if you're new here, I'm Liz. This is Creating Crime Time. I'm your host. I sit down, I talk about a true crime case, and most of the time there is art involved. Today we are talking about a very sensitive murder. So this is a part of my Valentine's Day series I got going on here. This is about the murder of Amy Carnivale, or Carnevale. Yeah, it looks like Carnevale. So this happened in Massachusetts. This case is literally almost as old as I am. This happened in 1991, and this case actually inspired a movie that happened on Lifetime, which is called No One Would Tell. And I've always loved watching that movie, and I never really put two and two together that it was based on a true story until I really started looking into all the cases I wanted to cover for Valentine's Day, and then saw the culmination of the domestic violence in relationships. So if you are very sensitive to that subject, I don't recommend you watching this video or listening to it, because we will discuss a little bit of the violence that happened in regards to Jamie when it came to Amy. So Jamie was her boyfriend. So yeah. Also, her age and his age, that comes up into like now with what's happening with the case now. So yeah. So Amy Carnivale, she was born on the 13th of April of 1977 in Danvers, Massachusetts. And Amy was just a sweet, nice girl. She had been dating her boyfriend Jamie on and off for about 2 years. And so their relationship wasn't the best. They were on, they were off. And Jamie was known to have a temper, and he was very possessive when it came to her. And he ultimately, that's what led him to killing her. Yeah. This case is very it's hard, especially like reading upon it, because she was just such a well-liked girl in her age. The depravity of the crime against her, plus the culmination of everything like that is Jamie, plus with people that are also involved, like it's very sad. It's very like traumatizing to the community. Like, yeah. So Amy was a popular cheerleader, and she basically, what it sums down to is that she was killed by her boyfriend, who was just encapsulated in a jealous rage that was inflamed due to his steroid use. So basically it was roid rage that fueled the fire behind this. And a lot of people were really stunned by her death and that of her boyfriend doing it. Like, a lot of, even as it's depicted in the movie, a lot of the adults didn't really know what was happening. It was more or less a lot of their friends knew what was happening. So, like, family members that were close to them didn't understand it. It more or less was their friends that really, really knew what was going on. So basically, I'm just going to sum it down to what happened, because that's really. So August 23rd of 1991, Jamie lures Amy to his house. Now, they had been fighting, like, and been together, not together, together, not together. And he lures her to his house, and he kept calling her over and over again to get her to come to his house. And she didn't want to agree to go over to his house. Like, she was done with what he was doing. She was done. And then finally she agreed. Well, he had 2 friends at his house already when they were all there. And then finally they decided to go, like, walk to a wooded area. And this is when him and Amy and his 2 friends separated. His friends heard screaming, and when they saw Jamie again, he was covered in blood and he was smirking. And this is when he told his friends that he put his hand over Amy's mouth, said he loved her, and then repeatedly stabbed her in the stomach as she struggled to get away from him. This is when he grabbed her by her hair and cut her throat. And then as she lay dying on the ground, like, he continued to stomp on her head. If you're a loving boyfriend, you would not do that to her. It also wasn't really publicly acknowledged. Amy was pregnant when she died. And there's a lot of things that came out after Jamie was arrested that gives a lot of premeditation to this, and that he was trying to hurt her in different ways. So after he killed her, he went to a friend's house. He washed up and then drank Kool-Aid. And then he warned his friends not to talk about it, or they'd end up like Amy. Eventually, they went back to the crime scene with trash bags, with cinder blocks and lobster lines, and they wrapped up Amy's body and threw her in Shoe Pond. And ultimately, that's where she would be found. So after she went missing, they would question Jamie where she was, and he claimed that he didn't know what happened to her. Nope. And he tried to pin the killing of Amy on his friends and not him. So I think that is such a cowardly thing to do. Like, why blame it on your friends when they have so much information when it comes to you trying to do savage things to your girlfriend? Like, I don't get it. So, yeah. Like, I understand that, yes, you want to cover your tracks, and yes, you want to make sure that, like, you're trying to get away with murder of killing your pregnant girlfriend, but still, why try and pin it on friends when they're the ones that saw you do this? Yes, they can be charged as being accomplice because they helped get rid of her body, but still. And it was also known too that Jamie had a prior record. He was arrested in 1990 twice for assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, and he was placed on probation. And his relationship with Amy was not his first relationship where he behaved violently towards his girlfriend. He was known to have a temper. Even before, the steroid use, he was known to have, be a raging asshole. During his trial, a lot came out about the way he acted towards Amy, the way, his behavior towards her. He would grab her arm, block her path when she tried to leave him, And by him grabbing her arm, it wasn't just like, I'm gonna tug you. He roughly grabbed her arm and would like yank her. Like, he also thought of Amy as his property, and he got so angry when he thought of her not being his. Like, that just like was one of the things that fueled his rage. He also told his friends and Amy directly that he would kill her. Like, straight up would kill her. But nobody paid any mind or paid attention to any of these threats. They never really took them seriously. And shortly before the murder, apparently Amy went with some friends, and this pissed him off. It's also not thoroughly known whether or not they were actually together at this point, because of them being on and off. And according to some court documents, he said, I'm getting sick of this. I swear, I'm going to kill her. This shit's going to stop. She's going to be, she won't be going out with anyone anymore. I'm going to fucking kill her. Like, verbatim, that's what he said. And for nobody to call the cops or get her parents involved or his parents involved, I'm sorry. It could have been so easy to stop this. But so the way he got her to come over to his house is he asked her to give him a haircut. Like, kept asking her to come over to give him a haircut, because Amy liked to style and cut hair. So she was just trying to be, like, nice. She was done with him, but she was just trying to be nice, basically. And apparently Jamie told a few friends that he was going to kill Amy and invited them along to do it. That's why the two friends were there. And those boys said, you don't have the balls. And he said to them, you'll see. And this is what, like, is the beginning of events of her arriving at his house. They walk in the woods, and then all of the violence towards her. Even Jamie said that he could feel the knife tip through her abdomen. That's how, like, vicious he got. And after he stabbed her in the abdomen, she bit him. And then she tried to run away. That's when he grabbed her hair, dragged her back, held onto her hair, said, I love you, Jamie, slashed her throat. Yeah, and apparently the sound of her gurgling on her own blood pissed him off so much, and that's why he stomped her head. So again, if you're still watching this or listening to this and the domestic violence is not your jazz, you don't like listening to this stuff, if you have a history, if you're recovering from it, don't listen to this, because this is overkill. And then when the friends saw him, he said it's done, and then they and apparently he showed these two friends the bloody knife that he stabbed her with, and how the tip of the knife had bent during the attack. Like, he stabbed her so hard that he bent the knife. And apparently, too, it came out that when they were drinking the Kool-Aid at his friend's house, it was red, and he said that it was right for the occasion, because, red Kool-Aid, and he had just killed Amy, there was blood everywhere, all of this. It was about 5 days after the murder, so August 28th, that's when the friends led the cops to where Amy's body was left behind, and Jamie Fuller was arrested for her murder. Yeah. So her death could have been avoided. Because of his background, his violent background, all of this could have been avoided. But nobody tried to intervene, hence why the Lifetime movie is called No One Would Tell. Literally, all of this could have been prevented. And I know it's, even to today, having an unhealthy romantic relationship is totally popularized. I mean, look at Twilight, look at 50 Shades of Grey. Like, not saying that a BDSM relationship is not healthy, but the actual, like, emotional side of it. So, because then it goes down to an emotional abuse type thing. Like, and women idolize these men in a way that they think of them as an ideal partner, when there's so many red flags. There's it's just not, like, we idolize people that take others for granted in a way that we shouldn't. You know what I mean? Not saying that I don't like 50 Shades of Grey. Sure, I read my fair share of fucked up shit. I don't idolize them. Granted, yes, I might fantasize about what the man like might look like in person, but I'm not gonna go out there and be like, oh hey, I want you, come attack me. I'm not, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that women invite that into their life, but that's the type of man that, or even a man finding a woman. Like, fatal attraction is a real thing. That's another video I have planned. People keep falling for it, and when they Hollywoodize these ideas, it fails to teach people that it's not love. None of it is love. You're seeing a controlling, manipulative behavior. That's not love. That's not what you need. What you need is something like, it's love when it's love. It's not something that's forced. It's just natural. This is forced and unnatural. Sorry about my tangent, but things like this could be prevented. And in particular, girls between the ages of 16 to 24, and not even just girls, men too. So people of all gender between this age range, they experience intimate violence with their partner, nearly triple the national average every year. That's how it is. And people don't seem to understand that you need to learn from it in order to, like, progress forward, but yet what we see in the media, we're actually, like, spiraling backwards. So in the culmination of this, throughout the trial, it does come out that Jamie was an avid steroid user, and that so Jamie's attorney tried to use that he was using steroids and he was drinking heavily in the months prior to the killing, and this resulted him not having the right mind. I'm sorry. Your premeditation is there. You said to your friends that you were going to kill her because you were jealous. I'm pretty sure he knew that she was pregnant, and he wanted somebody to kick her and to hit her in the stomach while they were at school. Like, he knew she was pregnant and he wanted to get rid of it. Like, he even said that he was going to kill her. Like, if that's not premeditation, I don't know what is. And the prosecutor for this case, his name is Howard Whitehead, he argued hardcore, and he said, like, he literally stated that Jamie knew full well what he was doing. And why did he do it? He was jealous. So, another thing too, like, man. So, Jamie was found guilty of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison after his trial. So, because laws have changed when it comes to juveniles being sentenced to life in prison, they had to, and laws changed. I kind of went over this a little bit in my Hannah Aquish video, where certain cases where a person that was tried for murder at a certain age, they had to be kind of like retried but resentenced. Same thing, I went over it in the Dingman brothers case, where the older brother is trying to, like, fix his sentence. So basically, In 2011, the Supreme Court decided that the different sentences that juveniles had, basically, because their brain isn't fully developed, if they're sentenced to life in prison, there's no rehabilitation that could happen, and therefore their sentence is unconstitutional. So basically, they have to figure out, like, can he be rehabilitated and put back into society, all that jazz, and what his sentence would be. Yeah. So I know he's been up for parole multiple times for this. So he wasn't sentenced to life in prison without parole. He was just sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. So that gives him the ability to be up for parole and to basically be able to get out of jail. So like Eric Smith, he was just paroled, and because of the length of time he's been in prison. And each time a person is gets to a certain point in their sentence, they'd be able to be up for parole. If you're watching this and you kind of understand this, thank you. If you don't understand the way that sentencing works, just look it up. It's each sentence has, like, you have the possibility to be for parole after a certain amount of years. That's basically all it is. So last year his case was up for review due to the juvenile being sentenced to life in prison. And so in 2019, about 18 different killers were released under different under the Supreme Justice court ruling. So it's like there's another case that I want to cover. That's of Beth Brody, and her killer is part of this as well. Jamie, he was up for parole in February of 2019, but that was postponed due to all of this. And as of right now, his parole is still postponed, but his case was up for review last year. Wow. All right. So Jamie, apparently he came from a very turbulent childhood. And domestic abuse was a part of it, and his mother was an addict. And they also suffered from extreme financial hardship. So Jamie was raised by a single mother in the low-income section of Beverly. And apparently his dad came back into the picture after he was arrested for the murder of Amy. Yeah. And in the court proceedings, Jamie did speak in regards to what happened to his mom, Celeste, and that Celeste often had men act very violently towards her. So apparently Jamie was very frail, hence why he wanted to use steroids to, like, bulk up, be like a bulkier man. He was quiet, and he did poorly in school and was bullied for years until he reached middle school. This is when he excelled, and he became more focused on his studies. His classmates would say that he grew bigger over the summer, like grew taller, gained weight, developed muscles. And then he started hanging around with the wrong crowd, and he called it the posse. And then the tables turned. Instead of him fearing people, they feared him. And that's when he really changed. Yeah. People also noticed that his eyes were the coldest, meanest ones they'd ever seen. And if people looked at him, they often felt uneasy due to his stare because of how his eyes looked and how piercing they were. It was such a gaze that frightened people. And apparently there was a reporter in the courtroom that got so terrified that he put his pen down and he didn't take a single note for the rest of the day with how Jamie stared at him. Yeah. So also it was noted that Jamie, as soon as school would end, he would drink, lift weights. That's all he would do, and see Amy. Apparently, before school, he would stop by the store for a soft drink and then replace the drink with more whiskey. So he would get a soft drink bottle, empty it, and then put whiskey in the bottle for school. And this, to a more rageful, state. Apparently, he threatened to kill himself. He would trash his room. He destroyed property in general, and his own mother was terrified of him. So the day of Amy's murder, Celeste, which is Jamie's mom, she banned Jamie to his room. He wasn't supposed to leave his room. And then the fatal mistake of letting him leave the house. That was the night of the murder. So if Celeste just kept him in his room, which I'm sure he probably coerced her into letting him out, but still, if Celeste just stood her ground, none of this would have happened. And I'm not saying it's her fault. This is all Jamie's fault, that he's at fault for killing Amy. It's not his mom's fault. No one asked to die. Nobody asked to be put in dangerous situations that they're put in. Nobody asked to be put in the situation that they don't want to be a part of. And unfortunately, Beverly lost a young girl that had a truly promising future at the hands of her jealous, rageful boyfriend. So that, my friends, is the case of the death of Amy Carnivale that inspired the movie No One Would Tell. If you have not seen that movie, I highly recommend it. Candace Cameron Bure plays the main character in the movie, the Amy. They use different names. And the guy that plays the boyfriend, the actual character's name is Bobby, but the guy that plays him, they do a phenomenal job at telling the story. Obviously, the timeline is a little bit different in the story than it is with Amy and Jamie, because, Amy and Jamie, they started dating when she was 12, and in the movie, it's a shorter, dating period. But I highly recommend it if you want to watch it. It was a Lifetime movie. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys learned a little bit from this case, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, you guys.
Heartbreaking, best that